Hi everyone, it's Sophie from Sophie's Japan blog, and this month the blog has turned 6 years old. So that means that somehow I've been managing to do a blog about Japan for 6 years. Now, a lot of you, I don't know, but most of you don't know me personally. I spend most of my time behind the laptop, you don't see my face very often, and I deliberately don't talk about myself because I'm talking about Japan. But I thought I'd make it a bit interesting to celebrate this particular birthday by giving you the chance to ask me questions and also winning a prize. So we've had over 30 questions, which I'm quite happy with. Not quite YouTube celebrity figures yet, but there's a long way to go. So for those of you who've asked me a question, you've gone into the draw to win a prize that's been provided by MVM Entertainment. So you could win the Tenchi Muyo OVA DVD and Blu-ray collection. MVM have been, throughout the 6 years I've blogged, the most generous prize giver. They've always given away prizes, and they've never really said no when I've asked if I can give away something as a prize. So they're great guys. I'm going to leave a link below to their shop as well, so you can go do some more anime shopping. So stay tuned to the end of this video and I will be revealing the prize winner. Thanks very much for following me for the last 6 years. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing it. Hopefully for a while longer because I do enjoy it, but let's see what you think of these answers. Okay, I think this is a good question to start with. Paco asks, what made you decide to start blogging? Also, do you still blog for the same reason or has your motivation changed over time? In short, I started blogging because I was bored. I'd graduated from university and joined the hordes of job hunters, so wanted to find a hobby to have on the side and to stop me from going mad. I was also a big fan of anime at that point and I'd been to Japan twice, so it felt like a good research project to have as well. Secretly I hoped it would help me get a free trip to Japan, but that hasn't happened yet, but I'm still waiting. Next, Mike asks, how do you keep yourself motivated to persevere with your blog and grow it into what it is today? I wish I could give some inspirational advice here to other bloggers, but the truth is I'm just a workaholic. I like having a schedule and planning ahead, and the blog gives me an excuse to do that. There's still a lot I don't know about Japan and I have no shame in admitting that, but I think the main thing that's kept me motivated in the last 6 years is my interest and the desire to find out more. Ashley asks, what's been the most crazy yet awesome memory you've made in the last 6 years? I actually don't know if I've done anything that you can call crazy, unless you count the fact that I've been to Japan a few times since I started blogging. Those holidays have been absolutely fantastic and I've done a lot of bizarre stuff, I'd say. I'd need a whole separate video to talk about my holiday, so I'm going to leave a link below to my travel blog so you can read about my trips to Japan if you want to get inspired yourself. I've also made a lot of memories in the UK though, which are just as important. I've made a lot of new friends, I've had a lot of free meals, received books and DVDs to review, and also been to a few events as press for free, which is always good. Blogging's become a big part of my life and I think my confidence has improved because of it. Biggles Inc. asks, if you could go back in time, which one thing you've done on the blog would you stop yourself from doing? I'd probably just go back and tell myself not to blog at all. Okay, I'm just kidding. But I would tell myself to write shorter blogs. But also more importantly, I'd tell myself to ignore the occasionally nasty or rude comment that does come with the territory of going online. For some reason, a lot of my older and not so great blog posts keep getting a bit of traffic, and they're not a great shop window for my blog, which means I have had 1 or 2 fairly nasty comments saying, this is rubbish, don't blog, you know nothing. At the same time, you have to live and learn, so you can't let every mean comment put you off. Adam's World of Everything asks, what is your favourite review you've done? So I'm struggling to pick just one because I review a lot of things on the blog, but I've managed to narrow it down to a single play. One of my favourite performances I've seen in reviews has been Anjin, the Shogun and the Englishman, which was a play that was done at the Barbican back in 2013. Anjin is based on true historical events in early 17th century Japan, towards the end of the Sengoku era. It's about an English merchant called William Adams who is shipwrecked in Japan, narrowly avoids crucifixion and is recruited by the daimyo Ieyasu Tokugawa to assist him in his bid to become shogun, the ruler of Japan. The play itself was fantastically done, and the story of the shogun and the Englishman is fairly well known. It's inspired a TV show and a book which, admittedly, when I read several years ago, I didn't enjoy. So I think I need to reread that. Okay, let's move on to some travel questions. Love Japan magazine asks, where would you visit next time you're in Japan? So I've been to Japan 4 times now and I've barely scratched the surface. There's just so many more places I'd love to visit, I don't even know where to begin. One thing I'd love to do if I had the time would be a pilgrimage around Shikoku's 88 shrines. I'd also love to visit Okinawa and just soak up the sun on their beautiful beaches and discover the secret to a long, healthy life. Or I'd visit the northern island of Hokkaido, either in the winter for their famous snow festival or in summer when it's warm. Basically, if I won the lottery, the first thing I would do is a full trip around Japan, starting from Hokkaido and finishing in Okinawa. I don't think I will ever be able to say I've been there enough times. Nerd Narration asks, having been to Japan a few times, what are your top 3 favourite places you'd recommend visiting? I think I have to put Tokyo on this list because I don't think you can really visit Japan without going there at least once. It's a mad city, big, loud and flashy, but it's also easy to disappear down a little side street and stumble across a tranquil shrine. Whether you want to buy your body weight in anime goodies, go to a weird themed restaurant, or get an introduction to Japan's history, Tokyo's somewhere you have to visit. Next on my list is Miyajima Island. It's still quite touristy, but it's so beautiful and serene, and it's home to loads of tame deer, which is always a plus in my book. You can reach Miyajima by a boat from Hiroshima, and the sight of that amazing floating torii gate is one that will stick with you. You can also get a ropeway to the top of the island and go on some beautiful walks around there, where there are still less people and amazing views. My third top place to visit is, perhaps surprisingly, Kanazawa. This is another city, but it's a lot less manic than Tokyo or Kyoto, and it's much more peaceful to walk around. It's home to one of Japan's most beautiful gardens, Kenrokuen, and 3 well-preserved chaya districts that are still home to genuine geisha, or geiko as they're known there. You can also take a lot of good day trips from Kanazawa, making it a good base to explore other parts of Japan. Chris asks, what less touristy places or things do you recommend for return visitors? I really recommend travelling around the southern island of Kyushu if you've been to Japan before. It's home to a mix of cities, rural towns and hot springs, and is less rushed than the mainland. My sister lived in Fukuoka for a year, and when I visited her there I fell in love with the city. It's fairly compact, laid back, but also modern and clean, and there's plenty going on. From Fukuoka there's plenty of places you can visit. A few of my recommendations are Beppu, the famous hot spring city where you can enjoy a sand or mud bath, Kurokawa, a rural hot spring town that's hidden away in the mountains, and Kumamoto to explore their impressive castle or buy your Kumamon merchandise. There were so many places in Kyushu that I didn't visit, such as Nagasaki and Kagoshima, but I think you could spend a good 2 weeks just exploring Kyushu. Kieran asks, which tourist attraction is the best one you visited on your visits to Japan? So I think I've already addressed this question, but I'll give you a new tourist attraction. Personally, I really love Nara. Most tourists visit it because its parks are home to loads of tame but very cheeky deer, so you can feed and stroke them to your heart's content, but be warned because they will mob you. Another reason I love Nara is because of its historical importance. It was Japan's first permanent capital and is home to beautiful large temples and historical treasures. For an animal lover and history buff like me, it's perfect, and it makes a great day trip from Kyoto or Osaka. Moving on to our history questions next. Mike asks, your handle includes the word Sengoku. Assuming you're interested in the Sengoku Jidai, how did you get into this period of history? Now Mike, I'm very glad you asked this question because in the 6 years of blogging and using the word Sengoku in my Twitter handle, no one's questioned it. I may just be slightly obsessed with the Sengoku era, and I wish I could say my reason for this was because I came across a fantastic book or I watched a classic Japanese film that sparked my interest, but sadly it's something much more embarrassing for me. There was a certain anime series called Sengoku Basara. I don't even know what it was about this particular anime. There are so many more historically accurate series out there, but someone popped this show on one day and I was hooked. Sengoku Basara is one of the most historically inaccurate, ridiculous and plotless anime that you could ever watch about the samurai. But I think it was probably the handsome men in there that did it for me. I'd just like to add that I have since done my research about the Sengoku era since watching that show, but I have to admit it did have a big impact on my interest in the Sengoku era. And the follow-up classic. Do you have any favourite characters or events in the Sengoku period? Put it this way, I made a pilgrimage to Sendai so I could get a photo in front of the statue of Daisuke Masamune. Date Masamune was a powerful daimyo in northern Japan and founded the modern-day city of Sendai, which isn't too far from Tokyo if you fancy a day trip there. Date Masamune was known as the One-Eyed Dragon because he only had one eye, and is commonly pictured with his iconic crescent moon helmet. One of the reasons Date Masamune continues to be in my list of favourite samurai is because of the pop culture representations though. So, to prove I do know other things about the Sengoku era, another of my favourite samurai is Sanada Yukimura. Sanada Yukimura is another very famous daimyo general, and a brilliant tactician who embodied the spirit of the samurai. He fought until the end out of loyalty, even if it was on the losing side. He was unfortunately killed at the end of the siege of Osaka. The Sengoku era was known as the Warring States era, so there's no shortage of dramatic battles there. There are a few that I've particularly enjoyed reading about or seen portrayed in popular culture. A few of these are the Battle of Mikatagahara, the Battle of Sekigahara, and finally the winter and summer sieges of Osaka Castle, which I've briefly touched on. I really recommend reading about the Sengoku era if you're into your history. Kieran asks, if you could live in any time period in Japan, what would it be? Surprisingly, it wouldn't be the Sengoku era. There was a good chance of dying or getting killed, and I don't think life would have been that great for most women. I'd have to go with the Edo period, when Japan was ruled under the Tokugawa shogunate and sealed off from the rest of the world. More importantly, this was the longest peacetime in Japan's history, and it was also a time where culture and arts flourished. So I spent a lot of time watching no performances and refining my calligraphy skills. Okay, let's move on to some anime questions. Michaela asks, what's your favourite anime series? I've had to think long and hard about this one, but I think I finally managed to narrow it down to just two. I'm a huge fan of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhoods. Full Metal Alchemist was one of the first anime series I really got invested in as a teenager, and then Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood was released a few years later and it was even better. In short, it's about two brothers, Edward and Alphonse Elric, who are searching for the Philosopher's Stone to restore their bodies. This series has everything: action, military strategy, drama, moral dilemmas, amazing characters and brilliant art. It's heart-racing and heartbreaking at the same time. My second favourite anime series is Shinsekai Yori, or From the New World, which I think less people in the UK have seen. It's set 1,000 years in the future after a sudden outbreak of telekinesis rapidly transformed the world. People now supposedly live harmoniously in this new utopia, where there is no need for technology, but very dark and sinister things lie beneath the surface. The story follows Saki and her friends as they grow up, struggle with their powers and learn the truth of the world around them. From the New World is so multi-layered and beautifully told. The less I say it the better, but just thinking about the ending again brings tears to my eyes. If you want to buy either of these series, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is available from Manga UK, and From the New World is available from MVM Entertainment. Alex asks, if you could live in any anime, what would it be and why? This probably won't come as a surprise to you by now, but I'd pick Sengoku Basara. I think it strikes the right balance between action, samurai, and a low possibility of actually dying. Sam asks, what's your favourite live-action Japanese film and why? And what Japanese film are you looking forward to watching this year? To tell the truth, I've not really watched that many live-action Japanese films to be able to pick a favourite. The last one I saw was the live-action Attack on Titan film, which was hilariously bad. In terms of films I'm really looking forward to seeing this year, I really want to see the live-action Full Metal Alchemist film, so hopefully that makes its way to the UK. All the Anime and Manga UK are also bringing a few films to the UK screens this year, so I'm hoping to catch those too. Moving on to some more cultural questions. Phil asks, what's your favourite thing about Japanese culture that differs from the UK? One thing I love about Japan is their beautiful shrines and temples, and how everyone, from cool teenagers to serious businessmen, visit them to pay their respects on a daily basis. Religious buildings and practices are very different in Japan and the West. Personally, I find European churches too serious and ornate. It's not the sort of place you can easily pass by, pay your respects and be on your way. Maybe that's because shrines and temples have lovely outdoor areas, whereas churches are very much indoorsy, but I generally just love the design of Japan's shrines and temples. Love Japan magazine asks, what Japanese cultural custom do you wish you could bring to the UK? I'd have to go with bowing. Maybe I'm just overly polite, but I love bowing to everyone in Japan. Shop assistants, waiters, hotel staff, even just people you bump into on the tube. bowing originally originated in Japan as a way of showing status and subservience, and how much you bow depends on how high-ranking someone is. That's still true, but now it's also a universal symbol to show thanks, congratulations, apologies, and so on. I just find it a really nice, simple gesture. Politeness goes a long way. And finally, some food questions. Lawrence asks, have you ever tried cooking Japanese food? And if so, what's your favourite kind to make? I don't get as much time to cook as I used to, but some Japanese dishes that I particularly enjoy making are chicken katsu curry and gyudon. I've recently made an effort to buy more products from Clearspring, so hopefully we'll get to do a few more cooking videos this year, so keep an eye out on my channel for that. Hide2k10 asks, what food do you think the British public would be ready for in restaurants, other than teriyaki? Honestly, I think there's so many Japanese dishes that the Brits still are not ready for and probably never will be. The opening of a restaurant serving some of these more unusual dishes would probably spark some shocked newspaper headlines. A few that I think might just make the mark if you market them properly are nankotsu, which is fried chicken cartilage, and harimon, which can be anything from intestines to organs. After all, we do like eating meat in this country. Personally, I've had horse twice in Japan. Once by accident when it was sashimi, then deliberately when it was katsu curry, and I actually quite liked it. For obvious reasons, that one would not go down well here. So to answer your question, I can't really think of any dishes, because the Brits are inherently squeamish. And finally, Callum asks, natto, yes or no? I wish I could say yes, but no. Sorry, it's just too gooey and wet for my taste. Supposedly natto is Japan's Marmite, and I do like Marmite, so maybe I need to spread it on toast or something. But that sounds a bit sacrilege. Okay, hopefully you found those questions and answers interesting. You learnt something new. That's the whole reason I blog, is because I like to tell people about things that I've found out or that I find interesting. I may have spoken a bit too much about a certain anime series, so I am sorry about that because I thought I had grown out of it, but apparently not. And now for the very exciting bit, which is revealing the prize winner. And I'm going to do this in a very fair way. I've got all the questions here in my laptop, and I'm going to randomly select one. I've got no idea who's got the names on there, so whoever wins, I'll contact you and you've got your prize. And I haven't got my glasses on, so I can't read the answer. And the answer is Mike, who asked the question about why I wanted to blog. So well done, Mike, and I'll be dropping you a tweet shortly. And I think this video's gone on long enough already, but I just wanted to say one more time, thanks very much for following the blog for the last 6 years, whether you were one of the very first subscribers or have only just come across it. And hopefully we'll have many more happy years to come.